Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. This is week six. We are in May 12th. We're looking at week six, day two of our daily devotional that we're doing with the based on the devotional life in the Wesleyan tradition. And so this whole week we were going to be talking about life together is the topic, and it's basically how we come together as the church in our devotional life and so forth, with the examples of the societies that were created, also all the information that we've gone over the last few weeks from the Lord's Supper and fasting and groups and how we nurture each other and so forth. And so this whole week we were talking about how we um, are going to now grab the information that we know, and then how do we do outflow. Yesterday we spoke about outflow, um, the outflow of grace, right? So where we're not just receiving, but we're also doing an outflow of the grace. So today we're going to be talking about doing no harm. That's one of the things that from the United Societies, the general rules of the uh, United Societies that Wesley created back in 1743, and that was for doing things where we do the most good, do no harm, and um, and then also creating disciples and so forth. So that was kind of part of the way that the rules were set up. Um, and so today we're going to be talking about doing no harm. And so that's our reading for today. And so the first prudential means of grace is doing no harm. The social dimension of the spiritual life is expressed in what we do not do as well as what we do. And so this is not a negative ethic as much as it is a displacement ethic. By that I mean, I am, by that I mean, and I believe Wesley did too, is that we must first detach ourselves from counterproductive attitudes and actions before we can devote ourselves to those things that are life-giving. So that's what they're meaning by displacement ethic, not negative ethic. It's more of a let's eliminate the things that we shouldn't be doing in order for us to be ready to do the things that we should. So it's just a different mentality of doing things. Um, at the same time, Wesley was not calling the people to measure their spirituality according to what they did not do. He had seen the destructive effects of stillness, a term in his day that described Christians who became excessively passive. So, where they just are still, they're not moving, they're not doing anything in their Christian life, they're not being productive. That's what he called stillness. And he knew that you cannot build a positive spirituality on negativism. So, nevertheless, he saw that many people must first get away from some things before they can head towards other things. He knew that in the realm of human relations, he must commit. We must commit ourselves not to do some things, as well as to do others. A vital spirituality always asks, "What do I need to? What do I need to avoid in my walk towards maturity in Christ?" So as we lead a more spiritual, devoted life and spiritual formation, and we need a devotional life, sometimes we have to, in order for us to do what we need to do, we need to eliminate some things in order to get us prepared for that. So it's just a way that we prepare ourselves. He felt, John Wesley felt that you couldn't build spirituality on negativism, but then again, um, a vital spirituality asks, what I need to what do I need to avoid in my walk towards maturity in Christ? Right? So part of it is not only I need to do this, but what do I need to stop doing in order for me to achieve that spirituality with Christ? So again, it's just a different way of looking at things. It's not being negative. It's meant more to, okay, what do I need to put aside in my life so that I have space to do the things that I need to do for Christ. All right. So kind of like what we were talking about with fasting, that if we're on social media all day, we could be more productive during that time. I mean, I know sometimes social media, it's the only way that we can communicate right now with people, because we can't see them in person. But at the same time, a lot of it is just distraction. And so what can we do during that time instead? And so kind of in the same way, um, what things do we need to stop doing? What harm do we need to stop doing in order so that we can do good? So we're ready to do good. So our body and my minds are ready to be focused on the good, right? So doing no harm was not Wesley's attempt to bind Christians. Rather, it was his attempt to chart the boundary lines to put a frame around the picture of the spiritual life, right? So if you draw a frame, everything that's going to go in the frame needs to be there, but you need to take out whatever is not going to be in the frame, right? Um, think of those frames that you buy that have like 5 or 6 slots of pictures to put, right? So you bring out all your pictures. If you bring out the box, well, you got to put aside the ones you're not going to put in that box too, right? So you make the stack of the ones that you're going to keep to put on that frame, but then you also make a stack for the ones that are not going to go on the frame, right? So to be sure, his list of prohibitions includes some dated things, and he did not consider his list to be exhaustive. He saw his examples as illustrative and dimensions of living that all serious Christians would avoid. And so he made some lists, and again, a lot of this stuff you can Google John Wesley's journals and things of that nature, and you'll be able to find some of them. You can find a lot of his books in libraries and things like that, especially like the SMU library. You might be able to go there and find those things. And so, um, again, he made a list of things that a true Christian would try and avoid. Um, Wesley could not conceive that any Christian would knowingly harm another person, either by speaking or acting against him or herself. So by doing the no harm, we make a list of the things that um, we want to avoid doing because we know that they could cause harm to someone else, right? So um, a lot of times, we're brought up to have thick skin, in a sense, and it's not to say that we shouldn't have thick skin, but a lot of times we grow that thick skin that we have a tendency to make fun of things that maybe shouldn't be made fun of. We have to be sensitive to those things, and so many times, we have to watch what we say. We have to watch what we joke about. We have to watch what we post on social media and all those types of things, because on the one hand, they could be funny, and they could truly depict what your convictions are, or what your beliefs are, right? Or what you root for or vote for, or whatever. But at the same time, we have to also think, we put our Christian hat on and we say, well, would a true Christian put something that could possibly do harm? And so, or would they say something, or would they act out something that would cause possibly do harm? And so, and I'm not talking about. I'm not saying that you're not going to do stuff to for personal growth, or to grow in your careers or things of that nature. It's not to say that you shouldn't stop that, or you should stop that. But again, it's more things that we do that wouldn't be from a Christian life. And I'll leave that to ponder in your heads, to what that is. What does that mean for you? Because again, we may joke around, but or we may say, I'm just using the example of joking. It could be other things. Um, but we could use the crisis that we're in right now. Some people feel that enough is enough, and we should open everything back up to normal. And uh, and although that serves one purpose, it serves the purpose of the financial aspect, the economic aspect. People, that lost their jobs can get their jobs back, and sorts of things like that. But at the same time, we can't just jump and go back to the way it was before, because if we do that, it could cause some harm, right? It's not to say that it will, but it could. And so we have to be very cautious as to what we do and what we do open and what we don't open, and the steps that it takes to get to those levels. And so again, that's just an example that I have. But so what can you avoid that's doing harm, or could be doing the harm to someone else, so that you can focus on the things that we need to do good? All right, so a reflecting question is, what dangers lie in the spiritual life when we put too much emphasis on what we do not do? So, what dangers lie in the spiritual life when we put too much emphasis on what we do not do? Okay, so um, what traps can we fall into that? And that's why I think the author of this workbook was saying from the very beginning that it's not about negative negativism. Okay, as positive spirituality cannot be built on negativism. So when we think about the things that we're not doing, it's not to say that we're thinking of a negative thing. But that could be one of the traps, is that when we emphasize too much on what we do not do, we can start to think negatively, and or it can have a negative impact or effect on us, right? So that's just my thoughts on that, but yours may be different. The second question is, what dangers lie in the spiritual life when we do not realize that some things have to go if vital spirituality is to come? That's a tough question. What dangers lie in the spiritual life when we do not realize that some things have to go if vital spirituality is to come? So, based on our spiritual life, what are some of the things that could be uh, a dangerous thing if we do not let go, or we do not realize that some things need to go in order for a vital spirituality to come? And so the dangers can be that we may never grow the way that God intended it for us, or that we may not get the blessings that God has in store for us, because we can't let go of those things. Um, those are some of the things that just come to mind. Another thing is that we could do harm to someone else, right? If we don't let go of that so that we can have vital spirituality, then how can we be a testimony, or how can we be of help to someone else's spirituality or their growth if we're not letting go of these things, right? That can cause harm. So could be some of the dangers that lie in there. And as far as our relating question for today, that you for your journal, or hopefully you have a journal that you're writing down these things, these thoughts. If not, maybe in a notebook or something. But it says, in the general rules, and those were the general rules of United Societies. You can Google that on United General Rules of United Societies by John Wesley. He wrote these in 1743, and there's still practical for today. So it says, in the general rules, Wesley lists examples of things to avoid. If you were to draft a list of things in contemporary living that Christians must not engage in, what what would it include? Okay, so if you were doing your own list of contemporary life now, and they call it contemporary life now because we're, uh, back in Wesley's day, it's considered maybe traditional times, or in the past, but now contemporary means something new or something in the present. In the present, if you were creating your own list of things that Christians must not engage in, what would be included in that list for you? Okay, so um, and so not looking at uh, not looking at things on the internet that are inappropriate, right? uh, and such as pornography or um, things of that are unholy. Um, those are some of the things that I can think of that maybe peop, Christians shouldn't be engaged in it. Um, Extramarital affairs, you know, stealing, causing harm to somebody, um, those types of things. Those are just some easy ones that come to mind real quick. But there may be some other ones that you have that you would put that maybe we don't even think of, right? That we shouldn't even be engaging in. The other thing is, why is this list important to you? Okay, why would that list be important to you? And how might you communicate it to others without falling into the trap of legalism or trying to legislate spirituality? Okay, so how would you be able to share that list to where you're not coming off as uh, in your face or like it says legalism or trying to legislate spirituality? So how would you approach people and say, you know what, that's probably not the best thing to do. It can cause some harm, and let me show you the examples of what it can do. And so you dialect. With dialect, we can engage in explain those things. So how would you explain them without sounding like standoffish or stuff like that? So those types of things. So those are the things that we want to write down and keep track of. So all right. So that was our reading for today. Again, doing no harm. Those are amongst one of the general rules of United Societies that John Wesley created in 1743. And so, if you have any questions on those things, I just took my uh, history class, and that was one of the things that we covered very specifically were the general rules of John Wesley. And so, if you have any questions on those, we can talk about those. You can email me at sal@theridgeep.com. You can call me at 915-881-4577. You can reach the church through that number. If you have any prayers that you want to send our way, please send your prayers to prayers@theridgeep.com. Know that we are a community of prayer. We are a faith-based community uh, that wants to walk this journey with you. We have a prayer team that prays on a daily basis on the things and concerns of the church or that are sent to us, and so we stay in contact with you in whatever means you want us to. If you would like us to uh, pass those concerns on to our congregation for prayer during our Sunday service, please let us know. Again, many ways to contact us, or you can reach us at www.theridgeep.com. You can find us on Facebook, The Ridge El Paso, and you can like us on Facebook. You can subscribe here to our YouTube channel, or you can find us on Instagram, which is The Ridge EP. And so we forward to seeing you tomorrow for day 3, week 7, day 3. I think earlier I said week 6, um, and it's actually week 7. So week 7, day 2. And so we look forward to seeing you tomorrow for week 7, day 3. And you have a wonderful day and God bless.